Hello everyone, this is Al Fadi and welcome back to this video series on the existence of Muhammad. We called it basically the search for Muhammad, and in the last couple of episodes we've been debunking any supposed historical documentation presented to us as a proof that the real Muhammad did exist. Today is no exception. We will continue along the line of debunking additional historical documentations or supposed historical documentation that is the intent behind them is to prove that a character or a person by the name Muhammad as we know him from the traditional sources did exist at that time when these documents were written. With me here, of course, Dr. J. Smith. Dr. J, what are we going to cover today in terms of any of these alleged historical documentations?
Yeah, this is the third one that we're going to be covering, and this is the Doctrina Iacobi, the Doctrina of Jacob. Iacobi would be the. It's a document that, to me, is rather desperation. This is a sign of desperation on the Muslim side. And they're looking for anything. They are striving strenuously to find any reference for their prophet. They have to, and they can't. And so that's why they're looking at these other documents to try to suggest maybe that these other people who are being impacted by Muhammad, you have to be impacted by him because he controls so much of the land, and certainly the Jews and the Christians would be impacted by him, to say nothing of the Sassanids and possibly even the Byzantines. And so there must be something written about him. So they've come up with this doctrine, the Doctrina Iacobi, which supposedly is written in 634. And let's go to the slide and let's unpack it there. You can see a picture of me smiling and pointing at it. This is from that video that I did on it earlier this year. And I had to go through each one of these and debunk them video by video by video by video, like something we're doing now. Right. And this is a Greek Christian polemical tract written in Carthage, which is today Tunis or Tunisia.
That's right.
But written in North Africa, but written in Palestine by a Christian apologist. Put that under your cap. So you can see this is going all over the place. Notice all those places are up north. None of these are down in
North
the
Africa,
Hijaz or in the what we know as Mecca and Medina. It refers to a Saracen prophet, okay? So, that must be Muhammad, because who is a Saracen prophet but Muhammad himself, with a sword? That must be him, because Muhammad used a sword. At least they're admitting that he used a sword, who has keys of paradise. Now, on face value, someone with a sword who claims to be a prophet with the keys of paradise, it must be Muhammad, because this is the only man that would have the stature or the background or the historicity and would claim to be a prophet. Without thinking, anybody who had a sword in those days claimed to be a prophet. That was the going thing. That's what you always do to give yourself notoriety, and you give yourself authority. There's case after case after case where this is the case. But is this Muhammad? I have some problems. Let's look at the slide again. This Saracen prophet can't say the Christ who was to come, because look at chapter 33:40, it's Muhammad is the last prophet. So how can he talk about the Christ who is to come? That contradicts the Quran right there. So nobody who really had looked at the Quran carefully would have said this, right? This is talking about the second coming of Christ, that of course any Christian would have said, but not a Muslim, if there were any Muslims that early. Secondly, it assumes that Muhammad is alive in 634 when this was written. We thought, and according to the traditions, he died in 632. So he's come back to life again? Thirdly, this prophet has the keys of paradise, which completely confronts the Islamic tradition. We'll get to that, come back to that. Fourthly, this prophet fits a Judeo-Christian monotheist background, obviously not an Arabist Muslim background. Coming back to this idea of Christ, who is yet to come, Christos in Greek, that would be Mashiah in Hebrew, who is to come. No, hold on a minute, that cannot be Muhammad, because you can see the difficulty of that. This would not be somebody. Why would he be talking about himself who's yet to come? Obviously, this is talking about the Christos who is in the Bible that's yet to come again. This would be the second coming. Again, obviously, this is from a Christian background. And then he talks about the keys to paradise. The keys to paradise is nowhere in the traditions. It's nowhere in Muhammad's lips. It's nowhere in the hadith. It's nothing about. The keys to paradise is from the Bible. That's from Matthew chapter 16, verse 19.
Exactly.
And it's referring to Peter's papal authority, which the Catholic Church used. So you can, obviously, they've got the wrong man at the wrong place, saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. Now, what's fascinating, he spoke Aramaic. This is written in Aramaic, not Arabic. Did Muhammad speak Aramaic?
Well, I mean, our friends are upset with us that Jesus is not speaking Aramaic.
Yes, but at least Jesus was in an environment that spoke Aramaic.
That's right.
There were no Jews in Medina or in Mecca. There would be no Aramaic down that far south. The only Aramaic that we know that would be close to would be Nabatean Aramaic, and that's 600 miles further north. So you've got the wrong man speaking the wrong language on top of that. Now, it also mentions, and this is what's fascinating, Muhammad would have not known Aramaic. Also, the Jews who were speaking that this is about would not have known Arabic. Not this Arabic, because they're too far north. So can you see, in every case, linguistically, theologically, historically, and even with the character himself referring to this idea of this Christ that's yet to come, that confronts in every notion the Islamic traditions. So in their desperation to find somebody, they didn't bother to unpack what this man was saying or what the tract was saying in this case. So what's the conclusion? Let's go back to the slide. There is no reference to the name Muhammad, first of all. It's just a prophet. No reference to this prophet being a Muslim. It doesn't refer to himself as a Muslim or belonging to the religion Islam, nor any reference to the city of Mecca in this, nor of his book Quran. Those are the 5 things we're always looking for that should give pretty much a identity marker that this is Islamic. He could be almost anybody. Sounds more like an Arab Christian brigand who is there with the sword. He is using that right, left, and center, employing the status of a prophet like they all did. They all consider themselves to be prophet to gain himself more credibility and authority. There's just nothing Muslim about him. Now, before we move on to the next category, which is looking at the Quran, I want to talk about one other piece of document, and that's the writings of Sabaeus. Sabaeus is a Christian cleric, well-known, who is at that time writing around 660, 670, so he's during the time of Muawiyah, and he's writing about this character named Muhammad in Jerusalem. There's the name we're looking for. Until you realize, as we're going to find out, there was a guy named Muhammad who did live that far north. Not in Jerusalem, but he did live in Iraq. And it looks like this is who he's referring to. But can you get, again, this guy is a murderer, he is a brigand, he goes and rapes women, and he does all kinds of things that we don't see Muhammad doing in the tradition necessarily, but not the Muhammad that Muslims want to adopt. Be careful who you adopt. Be careful the name that you ally to, because when you ally them, you also have to go with all the material that goes along and all the trappings that go with them. In this case as well, if you're going to say that this is Muhammad, then you're going to have to say that he knew all about Matthew 16. He knew all about the reference of the keys of paradise. He also was somebody who had a sword that was much too far north, and he also spoke Aramaic. That Muhammad does not exist in the tradition that I'm aware of.
Right. Well, did Robert Hoyland write about this document?
He does write about him, and he says very clearly this is not the Muhammad of the traditions. And so he agrees exactly. In fact, most of the material that we're getting, and this is Mel brought this up out, and so did Murad. They're both saying this has got the wrong man at the wrong place doing the wrong thing at the wrong time, and they would agree with Robert Hoyland on this.
Okay. What else?
Yeah. Next thing we're going to do is looking at the Quran itself, because there are 4 references to him. So we'll go ahead and do that episode, unpacking him and seeing who is this character that is in the Quran.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Until we meet you next time, have a blessed day.